Oikein hyvää tiistai-iltapäivää kaikille ja lämpimästi tervetuloa tähän SAP Vinukin ja Westernacherin yhteiseen webinaariin. Meillä on tänään mielenkiintoinen aihe, se on itse asiassa sama aihe kuin eilen, SAP Signavio, ja tänään on LeanIX mukana myös. Ja mielenkiintoista esitystä luvassa, ja meillä on tänään täällä aiheesta myös ammattilaiset kertomassa lisää, Aki, Johannes ja Ingmar, jotka pääsee kohta ääneen. Mutta lyhyesti tässä kerron vielä tuttuun tapaan käytännön asiat tästä webinaarista ja sitten ihan pikainen kurkkaus tuonne Finukin tapahtumakalenteriin. Eli te olette kaikki mutella tässä webinaarissa, mutta osallistukaa toki tuohon keskusteluun kysymyksillä ja kommentteilla tuon questions eli kysymykset osion kautta, niin varataan tuonne loppupuolelle hieman aikaa, että käydään niitä kysymyksiä sitten läpi. Te tuutte saamaan myös tästä webinaarista tallenteen sekä esitysmateriaalin jakoon sitten palautekyselyn yhteydessä, toivottavasti jo huomenna tai ylihuomisen aikana. Siinä oikeastaan lyhykäisyydessään käytännön asiat. Meillä Finukissa on todella ruuhkainen positiivisella tavalla tämä syksy. Siinä näkyy muutamia meidän yhteistyökumppaneiden sekä SAP Finlandin järjestämiä tapahtumia, osin webinaareja tässä tulevalla kuluvalta kuukaudelta ja vähän myöhempääkin vielä. Jos aiheet kiinnostelee, niin käykää katsoa tuolta sapfinuk.fi kautta tapahtumat lisää ja käykää ilmoittautumassa. Näiden lisäksi meillä on myös sitten valtava määrä näitä työryhmiä, jotka on suunnattu meidän käyttäjäjäsenille eli varsinaisille jäsenille. Tässä syksyn aikana tulee muun muassa testaus, laadunvarmistus, HR, talous, project management ja lisensointi. Et jos joku näistä aiheista resonoi, niin käyttäjäjäsenet lämpimästi tervetuloa oppimaan ja kertomaan ja kuulemaan lisää ja verkostoitumaan näihin tilaisuuksiin. Nämä löytyy tuolta meidän uutiskirjeen kutsuista sitten. Varmistakaa, että olette meidän jakelussa mukana. Viimeisimpänä, mutta ei vähäisimpänä, vielä haluan mainita syysseminaari tulossa. Meidän vuoden isoin, ehkä koko Suomen isoin SAP-ekosysteemitapahtuma Scandic Marina Congress Centerissä 29.10. Toivottavasti tavataan siellä mielenkiintoisten esitysten parissa. Se siitä Finukin osuudesta. Nyt mennään itse päivän aiheeseen Business Transformation SAP Signavion ja LeanIXen kanssa. Ja tässä vaiheessa annan puheenvuoron webinaarin asiantuntijoille. Eli Aki, ole hyvä ja saattele ihmiset aiheeseen.
Yes, kiitos, and I will translate immediately to English. I hope it's okay for everyone. Yes, my name is Aki Pusar, and sorry, I'm not yet the expert speaking about the topic, but I will shortly let the real specialist to speak about Signavio and LeanIX. It will be fantastic. Before that, very shortly, if you would give me the next slide, just short introduction. We are Westernacher Consulting. We are global SAP service provider in 25 countries, headquarters in Heidelberg, and been into business for decades. Some numbers on slide, but most interesting, we are net zero on CO2. We are very proud of that, and our ambition is that our customers are also net zero one day, even negative. Our customers know us especially from SAP-based digital supply chain and manage complex transformation, and those transformation are that's the topic for today. If you give me one more slide. Yes, and few recommendations for the events in September, October from our side. On left, you can see a major digital supply chain event on October 3rd in Helsinki, Finland. The event organized by SAP Finland, and we are presenting, for example, Green Token, the EUDR compliance solution in SAP, and also business networks expert sessions. Feel free to join. Registration is open. Follow the QR code below. on right, there's also a few tips on webinars and other events online and in London, Waldorf. In our websites, you will see more. Yes. Now, guys, have fun and please post any questions you may have on chat. We will have some time at the end to discuss. Enjoy.
Oh, welcome. My name is Ingmar. I'm a global lead for LeanIX within Westernacher. And where I would like to start with is a perspective of the type of challenges that we see in transformations while moving to mainly S/4HANA, but in general also with other product introductions in the SAP landscape. A starting point is the current state. We would like to know where we are, what we have for a solution in place, what the current business state is, and based on this, we would like to improve. In the improvement, we of course have a lot of options, and that's why what we emphasize is to build this based on a vision. We would like to have a certain end state. We would like to have a so-called North Star, where we would like to go to as a business, and mainly as a business. And this needs to be supported by the solutions like S/4HANA, like digital supply chain solutions within the SAP landscape. In this challenge, over the last, in the meantime, about 20 years that I've been into SAP implementations, a lot is about people and mindset and understanding of what the current state is and where we would like to go to as an organization. In a lot of these discussions, we see that where we would like to go to, the North Star, is based on an IT system which needs to be implemented. It is based on tools. Well, actually, it is not about tools. It's about the process. We have a certain purpose. We would like to achieve business challenges and improve the business by resolving the challenges that we have and ensure that we take steps forward and do this in a common understanding of the current system landscape and what is actually the future where we would like to go to. In the transformations I have done, mainly, now I talk about 15 years ago, the first step was that we did brown paper sessions. We make a drawing about, okay, what is actually today in the system? How do we use the system? What is the business process which is aligned to this? In these sessions, we see that in a lot of cases, we already have first discussions, okay, but one person has the feeling that you do process and execute process A. Another person is telling the opposite. Well, they both speak about the same business, the same company, the same type of process that should be executed, but have a completely different opinion. And during drawing of these processes, we see that there are differences, and we don't understand the differences, and then we try to resolve this. Over the last years, however, we have more and more the opportunity to use the actual data in the systems. We are able to leverage the data in the actual execution, and based on the actual execution, we can explain what really happens. And maybe that one case where we see that there we have a complete different opinion about how a process is executed is based on one example happened in the last 5 years. But because it was something that went wrong, that is something that keeps in mind of the people who are in the working and in the operations, because that went wrong, so that's a really important point to discuss. But actually in a major transformation, we would like to know what actually is happening, what are the more commodity processes, what are the differentiating processes linked to the business strategy, and be able to translate this in a way that in the future setup, this process runs preferred automatically. We would like to enhance this and focus on the real differentiating factors and focus on the real issues and topics that need attention on a hopefully not day-to-day business, but to improve the right process and execute the business properly. In this step, we have, and that's what we will mainly present today, two tools which can support this. One of them is Signavio, the other one is LeanIX. But the main elements are always based on three key elements which are there in transformations. One, we would like to know what currently is happening in the system and have a perspective of how the future could look like. And based on this, get the right decisions. Based on the difference between the today's state and the future state, we would like to plan and execute an engagement successfully. So how do we actually make a change and who are involved? And when we have made a change, a transformation, we would like to secure the operation. We would like to ensure that we actually operate according to what we have discussed before, and also be able to continuously improve, to see what still is not going perfectly fine, and how can we then enhance the functionality in a way that we can do our day-to-day business better. Within the SAP landscape, you see now a picture which is an overview of what it was presented at Sapphire 2024. During the presentations which were given, one key element was emphasized, where we see that we go from a more monolithic ECC environment to a far more complex system environment with cloud, with on-premise solutions which are mixed, so we have hybrids, and this is very hard to manage. To be able to manage this, you see several tools which support this. So we have the key perspectives of the process, the data, the people, and the systems, which are in every business the key elements. And the tools which support this are at one end Signavio, which focuses on the process element. We have Cloud ALM, which focus for a part on data, but also project management. People, where we see a new acquisition which is planned for WalkMe, and BTP. And BTP, why BTP? One, because there's the automation. The other end, the front end, so the user interface is developed in BTP, and we have there multiple tools to support the day-to-day business. And we have LeanIX for more the system-oriented elements. In this, we box this, but the reality, of course, is it is a combination of the different functions. If you see LeanIX and if you see Signavio, what we mainly try to achieve is have a common view on the reality and be able to explain what actually is happening in the day-to-day business and bring people together, because people is the core differentiator in a large transformations that are run. If the people don't understand what we are doing, what today's state is, and where we want to go to, it is almost impossible to have a sound and good transformation program. In this is also emphasized the role of the enterprise architect, where we see we would like to have the guidance over the different processes, the guidance over the different SAP solutions, and we need to have a coordination function there. And that's the enterprise architect, which is positioned more and more in the larger end-to-end projects. A statement from Christian Klein, which emphasizes this, is mainly application and processes go hand in hand. And this is also why we really see the value by LeanIX, by Signavio, by Cloud ALM, also BTP, and in the future, hopefully WalkMe to have the full chain connected and use these tools as one business transformation suite. Now I'll first go and give a bit more insight on LeanIX, and afterwards, during the explanation, I will hand over to Johannes, who can then explain the part related to Signavio. The key element in LeanIX is that we have a meta model based on fact sheets. So in the middle, you see all the elements which are explained here. So strategy and transformation is related to the objective, platform, and initiative. So objective, what do you want to achieve as a business? What are the value drivers? And what do you want to get out of a final transformation? The initiative, which are the transformation itself, the programs, the projects, but also goes to a more detailed level, like the epics and the stories which are run in the work packages which are defined in a transformation. Going to the business architecture, we there see the components of the organization, the business capabilities, and the business context. And the business context, that's the part where the processes are defined and the value chains. So the business value chains in most cases, but also the solution value chains can be stored there. So if you see the connection between Signavio and LeanIX, the processes which come from Signavio are mapped to LeanIX as business context, but at the same time, the business capabilities and the organizations are most of the time maintained in LeanIX, and then shared also with Signavio. This is a decision which you can take yourself, so you are able to do it the other way around. But this is what we see in most implementation cycles. Then we see one level below the applications. That's also an element which is then maintained in LeanIX and then can be shared with Signavio. And the applications is really where the tool of LeanIX shines, to make a connection between the different applications which are run, to connect the applications with the business capabilities, and ensure that you see how is the business supported by which application, and what is this application then delivering to the organization. To put this in a more detailed overview, and to make you aware, we will share these slides also afterwards, so you can then take a more detailed look into the different pictures and also the connections between the different fact sheets. All this data, which is interconnected, give the possibility to see how is an objective that you want to accomplish, so the business strategy, connected with business capabilities. So which business capabilities need to be improved to reach a certain objective. And this business capability is supported by applications and functions within the application. These connections give us the possibility to visualize what is actually happening in an organization from an architecture perspective, and also gives us the possibility to give, for example, a certain maturity level. So we are currently in today's business have a business capability for HR and our resourcing process. Maybe today this process is not running that sufficient, and we are having initiatives to improve this, and we can see how is this initiative improving which business capability, and what projects do we need to finish to get better in this activity. Of course, this needs a lot of data, and the data for every fact sheet, of course, you can enter it manually, but it's not the objective of what you would like to achieve. You would like to reuse the information you have available today. Reuse, you can do this in several ways. One is you have like a SaaS discovery, so an automatic discovery of your SaaS applications. You have reference catalogs, so you have, for example, business capabilities per industry, which can be used, and this is also directly connected to the capabilities which are defined within the whole SAP landscape. So you have a full connection there with the reference documentation from SAP. You can use AI to enhance information about applications, about the technology used behind the applications. And we have the possibility to interact via the tool. So we can send out surveys to request, okay, but what is actually the maturity level of a certain business capability? What is the functional fit of an application? This data, which you can then create manually or with Excel sheets, can also be created by using APIs. And in this, you have a set of standard tools, and a set of standard tools where you have like Confluence, where you have Signavio, where you have ServiceNow. All of these are tools where you can load the data and exchange the data between the different applications. And the main element for LeanIX is that it is the visual representation of your system architecture, but also your process, your data architecture. And by this, you are able to, from top to down, see the connections of your full system. I see a question related to the organization and the business capabilities. The business capability and the organizations are directly connected. So you can see for an organization which capabilities are applicable, and you can see the applications which are used per organization. Now, a small representation of what we have done as Westernacher. So we have there created industry value propositions, where we have identified key innovations in a certain industry, the key challenges for the industry, and we have mapped this to LeanIX. Also used the business capabilities and made a full flow from the objectives to the organization to finally the data objects, which are all linked based on the reference architecture from SAP. And there also we have Signavio, where we leverage the full reference process model. So all data about the business processes and all data about the solution capabilities. Now, one step more detailed on how do we actually manage this, because we have Signavio, we have LeanIX, tools which support us, but they have a main objective. And the main objective is related to the enterprise architecture that we handle in the business. So we want to have the connection between the strategy and would like to see the reality and connect the dots to ensure that from start to finish, we have the full process covered. In this, you have the enterprise architecture framework. In the enterprise architecture framework, we have one end the methodology, which can be TOGAF, APQC, but there are different variants. Important is not limiting to a certain approach. It is reusing what is there in the different approaches and leverage this to the best to the company. So it's not you need to use TOGAF to be able to be successful in this. We have the reference content and the tooling, which is, well, right now I think quite obvious, LeanIX and Signavio for a big part, and also Cloud ALM, and the services that to deliver a transformation with success. Translating this to TOGAF, we see for every phase in the architecture definition, different key elements which need to be picked up. These phases, so starting with defining the architecture principles, have a guideline of what is the final solution that we want to deliver, connect this also to the business strategy, and ensure that the business strategy can then deliver based on these principles, and then go into the business capabilities with the reference models, the solution capabilities, and all these phases are there within every transformation. It is not needed to finalize everything for a certain phase. It is a step-based approach where we see that for a specific transformation, it can be that you need only a part of the information related to the business strategy. You don't need to have all content fully complete at day one. It is more a phased approach which is iterative. So you improve the first step. You see within certain application that you have a question about certain business capabilities, and then you identify, okay, for this capability, what are actually the other solutions that we already have running? Do I need to improve there? How do I ensure that I use a certain application at best? And these discussions you can document and store, and also store what is the communication about a certain decision. Why did we decide to go for a certain solution in that case? And use this as documentation. This slide shows the artifacts per phase. And all these different artifacts are parts where we can use LeanIX and at the other end Signavio to support the final definition. So later in this presentation, I will give a short insight on different overviews which we have within LeanIX. This is just a sneak peek of what we have available. If you would like to have more deep dive on certain elements, please give us a short call, and then we can arrange a specific meeting on those topics. If you go to the different elements as explained from business strategy to business model, first inside I will go into an example. So we can create a business strategy map where we have defined, okay, what is the key strategy that we would like to achieve, what are the objectives that we then have, and what are the results that we want to deliver with which transformation programs. We can create business capability maps in which we show what are the capabilities which are applicable, which capabilities are right now already available and at what maturity level, and what are the capabilities that we need to improve and how we will improve this. So what are the initiatives to improve these capabilities? Going into more the business architecture and solution architecture, there we will see the leverage of the reference content. The reference content at one end can show you, okay, what is the distribution of the solutions? So which solutions can cover which capabilities? And in this support, the decision making, okay, what is commodity for you as a customer, as a business? What is differentiating? So where do we need to focus on? Where do we specialize the solution in a way and really more customize the solution at the end? And what are the innovation areas? So where do we need to spend additional time to identify what kind of innovation strategy we will leverage and how we improve a certain capability with the tooling? At the end, when we have all information documented, the main objective is to use this, of course, to visualize the current system landscape and the connections between the different elements, or the different fact sheet types. So what you see now is an example of a modeling of an S/4HANA transformation, where you see on top the business capabilities, which applications are connected to the different capabilities, and what are then in level 2, the detailed processes which are applicable, how is this then connected to the different IT components. Really from top to down, we can visualize the different elements. Now, first insight on how is this connected with Signavio. So in Signavio, we can create the different process value chains and also the detailed process maps. And these elements we can then integrate in LeanIX, and there we can directly connect to the overview. So in LeanIX, you can see already the process diagram, and you can click through to the Signavio if you would like to. I will show you a bit later in the demo at the end of the session of today how this is working and when we go through this. But first, I would like to give Johannes some time to explain what we do with Signavio.
Thank you so much, Ingmar, and once again a warm welcome from my side. Joe Strasser, I'm responsible for SAP Signavio here at Westernacher Consulting. Also a huge thank you for SAP FINUC for hosting us. It's a great pleasure. And you know, you're not here just for fun or just because you're bored. You're here for having a value add. You know, you have so many opportunities to gain knowledge. Meanwhile, there are events all over, and now you choose SAP FINUC in collaboration with Westernacher. So incredible. Thank you. And all we own you is indeed some decent value on how to effectively drive your business transformations. Now let's focus on SAP Signavio on a meta level. What is it and what is the role of SAP Signavio when it comes to business transformation? Here you see it very simplified. In short, SAP Signavio provides an end-to-end support through all process transformation phases you can imagine throughout your project. If you follow an SAP Activate project methodology, SAP Signavio supports each of them. So from the discover all the way to run and monitor. If you have a more simplified version like we have it here, where you start with the analysis of the as is, you know, the to be, and the implementation all the way to rollout and hypercare, SAP Signavio is the go-to solution. The only challenge we face today in this meeting is to synthesize such a complex topic, enterprise architecture management, business process management, in only 1 hour, right? I just released my second book on this one, so you can really spend some 400 plus pages on this topic, but let's try to keep it as simple as possible. SAP Signavio in a nutshell. So it's not only about business process modeling, right? Oftentimes, oh yeah, we have the feedback Signavio, it's only for modeling. That's completely mistaken. It's somehow true, yes. Back in 2009, SAP Signavio was still Signavio. Before the acquisition, it was a startup based in Berlin, all around business process modeling. But over the years now, especially since the acquisition of SAP 3 years ago now, they also have a strong focus on process analysis and process mining. You think of the Gartner's Magic Quadrant, you find Signavio pretty much on the top right as a leader in smart process analysis and mining. But also, you think of the process automation capabilities Signavio offers. Meanwhile, it's also part of SAP Build Suite. So there's pretty much everything you need to do with processes. It's covered by SAP Signavio, and this whole transformation suite makes it somehow unique on the market. So what is now the role of SAP Signavio when it comes to your business transformation? I thought of explaining it with a graph, as you can see here. So on the x-axis, you see the life cycle of the transformation, right? So it's the timing. And on the y-axis, we see the value in terms of operational excellence. So it's what we want to achieve over time, right? Operational excellence, process excellence, with the perfect synergy processes and systems. So how do we typically approach something like this? And here I can completely remember myself when I, entered the SAP consulting market. It was back in 2017, most notably without the support of SAP Signavio back then. A typical approach would be, okay, you know, you have upfront such a hope, such a high expectation of the transformation that is ahead, that you create somehow like a hype cycle. Everyone is pumped. Everyone within the organization is filled of, oh, we are going to transform to the next gen enterprise of tomorrow. However, the momentum of this was oftentimes not of a long-term thing. Because why? Upfront expectations were set based on either marketing material or some random PowerPoint slides, but never on a fact-based core foundation. And here, SAP Signavio can actually be considered as a game changer, especially if you implement something called SAP Signavio Process Insights upfront into your current core ERP system, or with process mining, process intelligence. You can identify highly tangible and, after all, smart objectives based on your productive data. So it's not hypothetical ideas anymore, or decisions based on intuition or randomness. It's now based on your productive data. And starting from here, you can derive quick wins, correction recommendations, out of the box benchmarking that SAP Signavio provides. So, and after all, this is like a more structured approach to really achieve those values. So I don't bring up this slide to say to you, oh, SAP Signavio is the all-time solution for your success. It's a tool, after all, right? After all, it's the people working with it, and our job within Westernacher is to make sure that the tooling, the Signavio, the LeanIX, interplay perfectly with the people and ultimately fit your company's needs. And a short disclaimer: everything we are telling you here, we also implemented within Westernacher. So Westernacher is running on Signavio. We are running on LeanIX, we are running on S/4HANA. So we are not talking anything, we're not deploying on ourselves. A short sneak peek in the different solutions. So the Process Insights really is the go-to tool, and is becoming more and more the go-to tool for any process manager, for any line of business manager. Think of a smartwatch. A smartwatch tells you how many steps you took, how many calories you burned, and how many hours you slept. Now you have the same insights for your processes. You know, if you think of an end-to-end process like order to cash, it has the potential to break silos. The lines of businesses start talking to each other again and not operate in silos and stuff like this. So it also comes with a bunch of correction recommendations that are ready to employ. If you're curious to experience this solution in real, just reach out to me. You have the contact details anyway afterwards. We can always schedule a demo. Sneak peek into process intelligence. I don't want to spend so much time on it, but after all, this goes hand in hand with the process insights feature. Maybe you're aware of the approach called plug and gain, where you connect process insights with the mining components. Here you can really drill down and discover the latest, pretty much every process variant you're running within your enterprise. And no matter how many subsidiaries you have or company codes are running within your IT ecosystem. And here's the cool thing: it's not only about SAP as a core system, it's any third-party solution that you are having your data on. A cool thing also about process mining, I just want to highlight one thing. You see it on the bottom left. It's the best run score. We often talk about benchmarking and orientate its own performance based on industry peers. But what about the best run score? Let me give you an example. If you go for a run, for instance, right? You go for a 10K run and you can finish this run in 60 minutes. That's your personal best run score, right? Even though the average might be 50 or 40 minutes, but your own best run score is 60. Okay, tomorrow if you go, okay, you do it in 58. Next week you do it in 50. In 2 months you do it in 40, right? So instead of focusing on what other competitors are doing, you focus on your own best run score and improve it from there. And SAP Signavio Process Intelligence helps you on this one. Now coming back, also what Ingmar just showed you, with connecting Signavio to LeanIX, it's about the fundamentals. It's about the process flows. You can have the most fancy process mining in place if you don't have a clear core foundation of process flows. On a higher level, process landscape, on a value chain level, but also more down on a PPMN level, right, on task level. And SAP Signavio comes with a bunch of cool features. For instance, the quick modeler that you can see in the middle. Here you can create process flows without big knowledge of PPMN. So you can, have workshops with your colleagues and have like a spreadsheet-like column-based interface, where in column A you say, okay, what's the activity? Column B is performed by whom and how, and the system automatically creates you the process flows. You can also leverage best practice content straight out of SAP Signavio Process Navigator, the successor of Best Practice Explorer, and ultimately also accelerate your process documentation. So without, copy pasting or texting massive Word files, you can just export them. You have a nice process handbook. Also here, if you're curious, just reach out and we can always have a deep dive. Ingmar already teased it. It's about combining systems and processes, right? Even though we're talking processes and tech, it's ultimately also the people working with it. It's, see Signavio and see LeanIX as a toolkit. After all, it's the people working with it. And our job within Westernacher is also to ensure the adoption rate. Once the systems are implemented, that they are regularly used and that the most value is derived from, right? Because after all, it's also resource intense, and you want, to best, yield the ROI for what you invested. On a process perspective, SAP Signavio, we saw it's pretty much the go-to solution when it comes to end-to-end transformation. So from the modeling aspect to the analysis, mining, all the way to the governance, collaboration, and automation. Pretty much all in one SAP Signavio Process Transformation Suite. On the systems point of view, we have now the opportunity to integrate it to the solution manager, or with the latest release now upcoming fall this year, the integration to SAP Cloud ALM. And of course, most notably, enterprise architecture management systems like LeanIX. Henceforward, we have a nice symphony of cool tools with your business users at the core to drive value throughout your business process transformation. So far, so good. I thought could be of cool value for you to share a relevant customer story. So everything we just showcased you, we did it plenty of times. So quite recent engagement was with a large player in the consumer goods industry based in the UK. And this customer had like a pretty upfront challenge. So on the one hand, the account had pretty much processes modeled all over in Visio, in Excel, in PowerPoint, in third party, on paper, everywhere. And the objective was to centralize it all in one process repository, and SAP Signavio was the solution to do so. On the other hand, they were setting up the enterprise architecture management, and they chose LeanIX, and our job was to marry SAP Signavio and LeanIX. And I'm still humbled because we were one of the first ones integrating SAP Signavio with LeanIX at the time. So we spent also plenty of keynotes in London, but also in Stockholm last year. And talking about Stockholm, we have a nice event tomorrow. So in case you're around Sweden, maybe you want to pass by in Stockholm SAP's office tomorrow afternoon, where we deep dive 4 hours on SAP Signavio and LeanIX, talking about customers and experts from all over. But coming back to this customer story, After all, what we did is interconnecting the SAP Signavio process flows with the LeanIX, so that we have, on the one hand, in the Signavio solution, we have the dictionary, right? And this dictionary, we connected it to the LeanIX. So we had a single source of truth when it comes to application entries. This was all populated by the LeanIX solution. On the other way, within LeanIX, we populated the fact sheets with the process models from Signavio. So it was like a bidirectional integration with huge benefits. So benefits for the process modeler, they had a clear guidance on which applications for interfaces to use when they're modeling the processes. That's just one example in regards of the time. And for the enterprise architects and for the IT managers, it's okay which IT systems are used in which process flows and how often, etc. So this is just a sneak peek about the benefits we could yield for this customer. And if you find yourself in a similar setting, feel free to reach out. We can always have a conversation around. If this makes you curious, feel free to scan this QR code, or you can Google just SAP Signavio and LeanIX. The title already says it, maximizing synergy for your business success. So really drive the synergies between the EAM LeanIX and the PPM by SAP Signavio for your business transformation. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm handing over back to Ingmar for hands-on insights on LeanIX. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And what we will do right now in the last part of, okay, what is now the roadmap? What is the landscape which needs to be which can be defined? I'll just give you a short insight on LeanIX and what it can show for you in the system. So what you see here on top is you have the dashboards, you have inventory, reports, diagrams, and collaboration. When we see here the inventory, we see all the different inventory types. So here we go. We see the objectives, platform, initiatives, so everything which I discussed before. This is the out-of-the-box content. What we see a lot of times is also that we have here the architecture principles added to connect the different tools which are deployed and the capabilities to the principles that we would like to follow. In this one example where we see the business context, here you see one of the best practice scenarios. When we go to this, you see here the fact sheet, and you see the data which is there in the fact sheet. You see an explanation. You see it is a process as a subtype. It can also be a value chain, for example. We see also the link here to Signavio. We see here applications which are linked. So we can see here a map that it is a certain application which is run based on this. We see an initiative which is connected. And in this, we have a full connection and a chain of the different initiatives to the different organizations, to the different applications, and so on. Underneath, you see also additional information which you can add. So the dependencies is what I just discussed, the applications that we have, the business capabilities, and so on. And in this here, we have then subscriptions. In the subscription part, we can indicate who is responsible for a certain process. We can here have comments, so we can communicate via the platform, have to-do activities, make action lists on this, have action items to probably, for example, identify the maturity level and have improvements there. And we have here resources, and also from within the tool, we can then see the diagram which is there stored in Signavio. So here, for this part, you do not need a license for Signavio, but you can see it already in LeanIX. So you have a point of view of, okay, what is there from a process model perspective? Because we have these possibilities and we can connect the people who are responsible for a certain process, but also for the other objects. So when I go here to an application, so I just picked the first one. We can here connect all the information. We can have classification for the criticality, for the functional fit, and so on. I would more see LeanIX as an architecture communication platform than pure storage of the enterprise architecture. Because the main objective is to bring to gather the perspectives which are there within the business, have a common understanding of where we are, and also see, for example, what is the level of completion of information. Do we have surveys running to enhance information? Are there open questions, or maybe are there components which are created in the past? And related to the completion, you see here on top, for example, 20%. It indicates the completion rate of this fact sheet. We have here on the side, we have the possibility to approve a certain fact sheet to see if it's in draft or reject a fact sheet. So there's an owner for this process, which is then the subscription, and we have the possibility to communicate via the platform and approve the quality of the information in a fact sheet and ensure that you have communication there and have this ready in the tool. Last part that I would like to show you is here a dashboard function. So here I open the dashboard for an SAP transformation officer. You see here a roadmap planning. So you have different initiatives, and in the initiatives you see sub-activities which are connected, and here you see the milestones for the different initiatives. This is, for example, information that can come from Jira, where you can maintain the full implementation cycle. It in future will also be connected to, for example, Cloud ALM. When we go a bit lower on this dashboard, you see here, for example, the project landscape with objectives that you would like to accomplish. So how is the objective connected to a certain application or to a certain initiatives? You see here also, for example, a budget which is indicated. You see current t-shirt sizing, so how big is this project? And these are all elements that you can add and that you can analyze. Last is related to the business capabilities, where you see a certain capability, and here on the lower part you see a current maturity level and what is the target maturity. So this is also information that you can use to visualize, okay, where are we today? Where do we want to go to? So what do we want to achieve? And also based on a time scale, you can say, okay, today we are in a maturity level 2, but we have 2 projects running. These projects will go live in 2 years. And based on these 2 projects, the maturity level will increase to level 4. These kind of connections and visualizations make it easier to explain what happens in the business, and also why we have certain initiatives running. What is the business benefit, and what do we want to achieve, and how do we make the connection with what we develop in the solution, in the application, in a way that we support different capabilities to go to a higher maturity level. Now back to the presentation. What we have showed you today is a big part of what is available right now, but it is really important to notice that with the acquisition of LeanIX within the SAP landscape last year, we see a lot of changes and a lot of enhancements in the functionality that is available. So on this picture, just a first insight where you see like a landscape discovery, which is the connection between Cloud ALM and LeanIX. So you can discover your current system landscape, which is there available in Cloud ALM. You can enhance this information, you can connect this information. You have the reference content, which is now there. This reference content, half a year ago, it was not there yet. You could not connect it, but right now we can. And in this, you see a lot of different changes coming also in the next months, where we see really the integration between Signavio and LeanIX improving almost on a weekly basis. Which is really impressive to see, and I think please follow the different activities because the possibilities for the transformation is really increasing and will be more and more pushed and shared within the full ecosystem of SAP. In this, I would like to close the first presentation part. Maybe a question to Aki. Do you see any open questions that we can answer?
I can see some, yes, but there's room for more. So people in the audience, feel free to shoot your difficult questions, which these guys cannot answer. So then we have exciting follow-up homework. But maybe I'll start. I have something around the LeanIX, which is now acquired by SAP. there is also WalkMe in discussion and being acquired. What is this all about, and what's the impact?
Good point. I think mainly related to WalkMe. If you see in SAP, you have currently, for example, enable now to guide the users with instruction on how to use the system. WalkMe is connected to this, so it is far more automating this and making this also a part of the daily activities that the user is doing in the system. Right now, because the acquisition is not official yet, it is very hard to indicate how this will be affecting the day-to-day activities, but how it's propositioned is really as the tool for the people, and that's really something which is, I think, a missing link to make the day-to-day work with the application better and easier, and have also the user interface optimized and know where the users are running into and get support in this area. At least what I see with Signavio added to SAP, with LeanIX added to SAP, is that a lot of new functionalities are developed and added, and it's really a very, very strong push to make really the business transformation improved and to make the support in this area better for the users. And that's for me really fantastic to see. And I would expect exactly the same when WalkMe is officially there.
Exciting. Looking forward to see what sort of business case there are. Another question just came. Can you also include the costs of the current or future applications to the model created in LeanIX?
Yes, you can. So there are two ways. One, you can manually add this, so you can do this on the technical layer, so the layer which is the lowest layer in your full architecture, your full IT architecture. You can also do this on the application level. Okay. When you have the SaaS discovery, so you have a specific functionality which can also recover the actual cost for the different SaaS applications. So that can also be automated. So this information can be shared and can be gathered from backend systems which you can connect.
Okay, good. There's more. Where can I find Signavio best practice processes?
I can take this one with pleasure. So maybe you were familiar with the SAP Best Practice Explorer. Right now you have a successor. It's called SAP Signavio Process Navigator. So if you just type it on any search engine, SAP Signavio Process Navigator, it's free of charge, where you can browse through it, and then you can identify various best practices for your industries, for your desired lines of business, and download them, and best case upload them into your Signavio.
Wow, sounds easy.
It is.
Okay, next, how can I use plug and gain as part of SAP Activate?
I can also take this one because it's more like Signavio related in this context. SAP Activate has one primary objective. It's to guide you throughout your transformation journey in a structured way. So you start with your initial discover, what are your current statuses, where do you want to go, what's your objective, and then implement it and run it and then monitor the change. Plug and gain is actually a combination of various SAP Signavio solutions. So at the beginning of your SAP Activate journey, you would start with a solution called SAP Signavio Process Insights. It's what we just saw some minutes ago, where you initially screen your current ERP environment. And then once you prioritize the pain points, you can connect it to SAP Signavio Process Intelligence. So it's the mining feature. which helps you explore the next SAP Activate project phases. And once you have the pain points with the mining and the variant analysis, you want to have some target states, best case, oriented on some best practice flows, or tailored to your own needs, which again are then replicated in SAP Signavio Process Manager and ultimately communicated via SAP Signavio Collaboration Hub. And if you want to have a governance mechanism on Plus, you have SAP Signavio process governance to ensure the quality and the approvals of each process release. So in short, Plug and Gain combines various SAP Signavio solutions and is there to cover SAP Activate end-to-end.
Yes, thank you. One more, we have time for that. Is the work done in LeanIX always in a customer dedicated environment, meaning the customer buys the licenses and gets a vanilla instance where you start to work? ?
There are different options. So what you see in an initiative, you have the possibility at one to have sort of a POC workspace, which is a first proof of concept workspace, which has two elements. One is really a demo workspace where you can go in, you can see examples, and have a sort of a teaser of what is there possible and how it's working. Next to this, you then get an empty workspace, which you then can fill with one reference content. So you can load, for example, business capabilities automated, or you can load it with an Excel sheet integration. This is an option, but it is available for a limited time. So you would then have a period, for example, 4 weeks, where you can really run a POC.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. There must be more questions. You can see our connecting details below. So feel free to connect us at any time for more questions and more insights. Thank you, everyone. Aleksi, over to you.
Thank you, Aki. Thank you, Ingmar. Thank you, Johannes. Once again, a very nice and informative webinar from you guys. Always a pleasure. And thanks also for the audience and with the questions. Very nice to have some interactions. Great. We're done here, so I'm happy to wish everybody a very nice Tuesday afternoon and take care, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Bye.